What's up? It's your boy. I'm trying ASMR, formerly now known as the diarrhea of a CEO. Did you realize the wordplay I did there? I think it's pretty funny. So yeah, long time no see. I decided to change name because I thought the name was funny, and also I think this suits the topic of my channel or the things I wanna do here more than my former name. I'm trying ASMR. I'm now further in my YouTube and I don't know, man, trying out YouTube, and yeah, I tried ASMR. Now it's time for something different. I hope you don't mind the name change and find it as funny as I do. So yeah, a lot of things happened. I don't know how many weeks, or I should say months, I didn't make a video, and I don't know exactly what the last video was about, but yeah, I wanna shift the topic or the topics of my videos away from doing an accountability series on my PMO usage while doing PMO, because I figured out that this doesn't lead to anywhere. So this won't solve my problem with that topic, and so yeah, I wanna instead focus on other subjects that help beating the addiction. And yeah, look outside. What can I do? What behaviors can I do that help me not do these things anymore? And so yeah, today I want to talk about the fear of getting a new job. So let me tell you a story. When I moved out in 2022, I moved to a city maybe 30-40 kilometers away from the village where I grew up in my parents' house. And at that time I still was in a long distance relationship with my ex-girlfriend, and simultaneously to moving out, I started working at a grocery store, or I should say it was more like a discounter, or it was a discounter. And yeah, I already told you I'm from Germany, so I worked at a Netto, and besides working at the Netto, I studied, and I'm currently still working on my bachelor thesis, but I made huge progress, but maybe that's a topic for another video. And yeah, when I first had my job interview, the boss of this discounter market was super stressed, super impulsive, super not a nice person, super stressed, and blaming the employee for all the mistakes, and just say, I wouldn't say a tyrant, because he could have been worse, but he wasn't really a nice person also. So yeah, he instilled a lot of fear into me in working there. And yeah, I don't know, as a guy that didn't have the biggest self esteem or trust in his abilities. This left my head spinning at night. And I worked for like half a year there, and every time I had the morning shifts where I had to get up around like 5 a.m. To be at the discounter at 6 a.m. I couldn't sleep right because I had developed such a fear of making a mistake and getting a consequence, whatever that consequence would have been, that I couldn't sleep right. And every time I worked at the Nether, I always had fear of the boss coming around and making a test with me. They make tests where I like put a card full of stuff and check that you sell everything correctly. So when you put it on the band and scan it, they just scan everything correctly and don't forget anything. And this guy, I don't know why, instilled such a fear in me that I was afraid every time I worked that he would come around and ruin my day. Gladly, this only happened a few times, but it was super, super stressful. And yes, and eventually, after half a month, a not so well going long distance relationship and the stress of having to study, I decided to quit the job, and I didn't. This was so difficult for me because I didn't want to let the team down and didn't want to be a quitter, but it was the best because I wasn't in a good space mentally. And since then I hadn't worked a commercial job because I don't know, I had enough money. I didn't have to borrow nearly anything from my parents, and I still don't, because you have a kind of, in Germany you can get a kind of credit, it's called BAföG, where you get paid a monthly sum depending on the income of your parents and your siblings, which is kind of stupid because my brother, who's still in training, won't pay me anything, and I won't ask him for anything because it's all hard-earned training money, so they don't get paid very well in training. Nobody would ask them for money, so that's stupid, but it is what it is, and I don't wanna be ungrateful because I'm aware that in many other countries you don't get this kind of support if your parents don't have the money to afford a private university or something like that. And so you get not so much amount of money to pay for my rent and electricity and stuff. And so I don't spend a lot of money. Probably you have noticed this because I wear the same clothes every few videos, and so there was no direct need for me to work an extra job because I got money. And 2 years later now, I realized that I have become pretty complacent. I still had to do an intermissionship for my studies, where I had to work for like 3 months, and this was going very well because I had such appreciative and loving co-workers that had such a nice mistake culture where they were totally understanding if I didn't know something or did something wrong that I couldn't know, where it wasn't a big deal at all to make mistakes. And I realized how much confidence I got from this, because I no longer was afraid to make mistakes, and I could do the things that they told me to do without worrying all the time that I made a mistake. When I'm thinking back to working at Netto, it wasn't like that at all. Constant fright of making a mistake and getting yelled at. To be fair, I did really good at Netto. 99% of my co-workers liked me really much, and they got me presents when I stopped working for them, and I still visited the market from time to time. There was no bad blood. They were always happy to see me and to just chat, and even invited me a few weeks ago to go party with them, which I didn't do because I don't like clubs. So anyway, I met a girl at the university which I really liked, and she became a friend of me, and she always told me about the job where she's working at, and it's kind of a bartender service where people were the firm I don't know how to call the enterprise has their own bar equipment, and they put it in a truck and drive to the location, build up their own bar, and sell drinks there, providing for all the things that you need for the drinks and all of that. And she encouraged me to apply there, because it would be such a great work environment, and their colleagues are all great, and if I like to work hard, which I do, that it would be a nice job for me, and that I would fit in very well. And so I did. And after the job interview, I realized that I was super anxious, that I had a hard feeling in my stomach, and that I just couldn't relax for whatever reason I didn't realize at the time. And I couldn't really sleep tonight, and was super tense all the time, and had a relapse with PMO, and just wanted to escape reality and smoke all the time. And after a few days, that feeling of pressure eventually faded, nearly at all, or nearly entirely was the word I'm seeking, because I listened to a sermon from John MacArthur about what's God's purpose for trials in a man's life. And he there told the story of a guy who lost his wife and his daughter to a disease, and still wasn't angry at God at all, but was just thankful for the prayers, and that he will see them in heaven when God says it's time for it. And I was so inspired by that, because I thought, oh man, you're such a pussy. You shit yourself being scared of making a mistake at a job or getting yelled at, which is literally nothing. But I don't know why I'm so traumatized from my last job experience, because maybe I'm just a big softie, and I need to put myself more in situations like these where I can get my feelings hurt. even if it's not to get my feelings hurt, but just realize that it's okay to make mistakes, and everyone will make mistakes. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I'll have my first work day on Saturday this week. I already made some mistakes communicating with my boss, sending him a wrong number which he needed, or so I actually that was just the only mistake I made, which I could have where I could have been be more informed before sending him the number and making sure that it's the right one. But yeah, shit happens. Not a big deal. He probably thinks I'm stupid, but yeah, who cares? And that's just something I had on my chest that I wanted to talk to. It's that, man, it's really hard for me to do that because I don't know what I am. When I'm honest, I'm scared to work there because in my free time, and so most of the time, I only work in environments where I am really much appreciated and people like me. And when I make a mistake, it's almost immediately forgotten. And I have to realize that this is not the work environment in most enterprises or most fields of work. And so I think it's crucial that I make the experience now at 23 years old to get rejected at work or to make mistakes and get a beating for that, because it's just part of that, and I need to learn to make mistakes and still go on with life, because everyone makes them. And I sometimes envy people who just seem like they don't care at all. They just do shit and yeah, they'll see what happens. And I bet most professional people or most successful people are like that they don't really care for consequences and just put themselves out there and see what happens. And maybe I'll never be at that point in my life where I can make decisions so freely. I'm not afraid of any consequence, but with God's help, anything is possible. And with hopefully, if I don't tremble under the immense weight of starting a new job, what a weight! What a great guy I am! I will become a stronger and better person. And yeah, dude, if it's not for me, I'm not bound by any contract. I still can leave, even though I probably would embarrass my friend who introduced me to the job a bit. But dude, if I have my reasons, it would be okay to do that. So, if God tells me that it's not a job where He would like me to be. So yeah, but I just wanted to put it out there and ask you guys, has anyone experienced a similar thing? I mean, you're always kind of agitated when starting a new job because you don't know any people, and you don't know if people like you, and I think it's normal to be afraid to make mistakes, but it's not normal to be so tense like me, or so tense like me when I was working at Netto. So I need to put myself out there, and to be honest, it's just it also just felt good to speak it into a camera, like I'm speaking to someone who could actually help me, or to another person, and yeah, just get it off my chest. So if you were sticking through until now, thank you so much for watching. Tell me your experiences with anxiousness when making new moves in a career or something like that. And yeah, I encourage you to do the same when you're in the same situation like me, because only studying may be hard depending on what you study, but it also brings kind of a comfort with it, because you don't have to do anything else than study. You don't really have to socialize. You don't really, from my perspective, have to make sure there's money coming in. So you can become pretty complacent, and I want to challenge myself to be better, and also challenge myself to be open-minded and learn from mistakes and realize that it's okay to make mistakes. So enough yapping from me. I hope you liked the diarrhea I was talking to you. Oh man, I just need to stop. Hey, God bless you, man. Thank you for watching. Love.